Hello everybody and welcome to this video teaching you how to play the game of Monikers. I am so excited to teach you about this. People have been loving this game for more than 10 years, but the foundation of it is actually a party game that people have been playing back since the 1960s or possibly ancient Greece. There's simply no way to be sure. What I do know is that Monikers achieves the impossible. It is both this tense, competitive race against time and also basically just an exercise in making you and your friends and family look stupid. And you won't even notice you're looking stupid because you're trying so hard to win. Let's get into how you play. So you may have in front of you the normal edition of Monikers or the family edition of Monikers. That is absolutely fine because both of these boxes are actually exactly the same game. It's just that the family edition has cards that are a little more family friendly and the Monikers normal edition does not. This is a 17+ game. The standard edition of Monikers also assumes that you're going to be playing this as a team versus team competitive game, while the family version assumes you're going to be playing it as a point-scoring cooperative exercise. But you can play either mode with either game, and both modes have the rules written down in both manuals. But in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to play both, and we're going to start with the team game. So before I get into any rules, let me give you the super rough overview. Monikers is basically an in-joke creation machine. The way that it works is that you're going to have in front of you a bunch of these cards with things written on them like the Hulk, She-Hulk, Spanking, or Irritable Bowel Syndrome. I didn't set that up. Those are for real the first 4 cards that I pulled out this deck. You're going to be trying to get your teams to guess those cards. Initially, you're going to be doing it by describing the card. Then you're going to be doing it by just saying one word. Finally, you're going to be playing charades. And then beyond that, we're going to get into even sillier stuff. But don't worry, I'm going to explain that whole process in detail for you now. So, when you're sitting down to play the team game of Monikers, the first thing you're going to do is carve the room up into 2 teams. Don't worry if one team has one more player than the other team, that's absolutely fine. And the next thing you're going to do is build the deck of cards that you're going to be using in this game of Monikers, because each time you play Monikers, you're going to have a different deck built from this, frankly, ridiculous amount of cards. The way that you build this deck is super duper simple. Every single player who's about to be involved in your game of Monikers is dealt a number of cards, depending on how many players you have in your game, and then every player chooses to throw away a bunch of them that they don't want in the game. So you can just choose the cards you know, or the cards you like, or that make you laugh, or that you're sure are going to make your friends laugh. And then after that, you're going to have a deck that looks like this, and you're ready to start playing. Pick a team to go first, and then pick one player on that team to be the clue giver. That player is going to pick up the deck and someone else around the table is going to start a timer for 60 seconds. And the moment that timer starts, that clue giver is going to start giving clues. Grab that deck and flip it over so you're looking at the cards. So against the clock, the clue giver now has to get their team to get as many of these cards as possible. And for the duration of this 60 seconds, the other team is not allowed to guess. And to get your team to guess these cards, you're allowed to say whatever you want, but you're not allowed to say the name of the card and you're not allowed to spell the card, all right? That's the only rule. So you might just say, okay, what does a ghost say? And your team says boo. And you go, great, they got boo. And then you say, okay, what does a crowd do when they want to bother you? And then the team says boo, and then you go, yes, that's correct, it's boo, but with more O's. 2 things that are allowed in round 1, however, are sound effects, if you feel so inclined to make them, and also gestures. If you think doing something stupid with your hands is going to help your team to get it, that's totally allowed. If you think your family are too distracted or your friends are too drunk to get the words land ho, then you can always just put that card at the back of the deck and look at the next one. Are they going to get Voldo from Soul Calibur? Probably not. You can keep going, keep going. You can do this as many times as you want. There's no penalty till you get a word that you want to try and convey. At the end of 60 seconds, your team probably will have got a whole big pile of words, but the moment that timer goes off, you are done. You're going to take that deck of cards that your team haven't got yet. You're going to hand it to the clue giver on the next team, and they are going to take 60 seconds. And then once the other team is done, they're going to give the deck back to the first team, and you're going to pick someone different to be the clue giver. This is the game. The next team is going to get a pile of cards. Your team's going to get more cards. That team is going to get more cards. And then when the deck is out, you are done, and someone has won. Round 1, that is. Things get spicy from this point on. With your freshly crowned winners of round 1 of Monikers, each team counts up their points with 1 card meaning 1 point. Keep track of how much one team is ahead, and then move on. You're going to take all of those clue cards that everybody got, and you're going to shuffle them together because you're going to use exactly the same deck again in round 2. And this is the heart of Monikers. What you have to do to get your friends to guess gets harder and harder, but everyone becomes more and more familiar with this deck. It's a bit like a trust exercise. You're standing up doing more and more silly things, but your friends are mind melding with you and correctly guessing Houdini within 3 seconds. Now, round 2 of Monikers works in exactly the same way as round 1. Teams are going to go back and forth. You've got 60 seconds to guess. You can skip cards if you want. In fact, the only thing that changes is the clue giver is only allowed to say 1 word. And this is challenging and tense, but also is incredibly satisfying because you might just say space, and then your friends go black hole, and you go yes, because they've already seen all these cards once. After a few rounds, once again, the teams will have 2 piles of scored cards in front of them with the deck divided up. Count up your points and add them to the points that your team earned in round 1. And you'll have a winner of round 2. And then we go into round 3, and this is the point where personally I take Monikers from a game that I like into one that I just love. Because round 3 is charades. Everybody's least favorite Christmas party game where you have to stand up and then do a lot of weird hand gesture stuff, and everybody takes ages to get it, and generally no one is satisfied except someone's weird relative who insisted you play the game in the first place. Charades in Monikers is better. First off, all the weird rules in charades to do like 2 words. Sounds like. None of that is allowed. Monikers just says you have to perform the card in a way that your friends will get. But here's the cool part. Your friends will get it instantly. You're going to do the dumbest thing in your life as you try and pretend to be Harry Houdini, and your friends will get it within 5 seconds, unless they find you doing the impression so funny they deliberately don't say it. And then you have to do the impression for longer and longer. My friends are jerks sometimes. Also, in the Monikers version of charades, some sound effects are allowed, although the manual just uses the words within reason, so you and your friends are welcome to argue about what that means. I'll just add here that Monikers is absolutely not a game where you have to get absolutely all the rules right. It's so much more about chaos and shouting and laughing and having fun. And on that note, if you do notice a clue giver on the other team or your team breaking the rules as they give clues, don't stress about it. You don't need to interrupt them. Just wait until they're done and be like, cool, hey, well done, that was great. Also, it was illegal. And finally, once you have finished round 3 of Monikers with the teams going back and forth, count up your points one more time, and whichever team did the best across all 3 rounds is the winner. Now, when Monikers was first released, that was it. That was the whole game. You did increasingly silly rounds 1, 2, and 3. But I am delighted to say that since then, the Monikers online community have realized there's no reason to stop after 3 rounds, and this edition of Monikers has a rulebook that includes no less than 6 optional 4th rounds for you to savor. There's my personal favorite, where you do charades again, but this time you do it under a bedsheet. Another option is to get behind a large object and stick out your arms and then only use them to gesture, plus sound effects. You can try 2 players alternating, saying a single word, then they have to form a roughly grammatical sentence. There's charades, but another person on your team has to stand behind you and pose you like a mannequin. There's what I refer to as the cursed one, where you get behind a large object, stick only your head out, and can only use head movements and sound effects. And finally, there is the spectacular reverse charades. Everyone on the team does charades except one lucky person who has to guess. And finally, after completing a 4th round of Monikers, you could pull one of the other 4th rounds in and make it a 5th round, or you could shuffle all the cards back up and put a new deck out and then play with that from the beginning. The world's your oyster. So that is how you play the competitive version of Monikers. If, however, you would like to play the cooperative version, which is great for families, it's great for if you have 5 or less players, or it's great if you just want something a bit friendlier, you only have to make a few tweaks to play the cooperative version. Obviously, you don't need to divide the room into teams. Everyone's going to be on one team. Also, the way that you deal out the deck is a little bit different. Players do get to choose some cards, but also you're going to add some random cards into the deck as well that nobody has seen. Once you've built out your deck, you just go into a completely normal game of Monikers, where players are going to take turns being the clue giver and saying, oh, okay, it's Metallica's ode to the ventriloquistic art, and someone's hopefully going to say Master of Puppets, and it's like, yes! After a few heroic 60-second sprints, your team will have gone through the entire deck, and then you're going to pick it up and go back into round 2 of Monikers, where you can only say one word. Then you're going to do round 3, where you have to do charades. And here's the thing. Contained in the manual, if you count up the total number of turns it took you to complete the game, you are going to get your high score with some fantastic descriptions of how you folks should think of yourselves, depending on how you did. That's it, everybody. Those are all the rules. You are equipped to play the game of Monikers. But before you go, I'll just say it one more time. This is a game that is all about fun and laughter, and it's not about getting all the rules exactly right. If someone gives an answer that's close to a clue card, that is going to be close enough. If someone says T-Rex instead of Tyrannosaurus Rex, give them the point. That's the spirit of the game. Being a bit of a rules lawyer is like the only possible way you could cause the fun to leak out of a game of Monikers. And this game is all about fun. It's not about rules. It's about watching your friend do charades for It's Raining Men and that image being in your head for the rest of your life. Have fun, everybody.